Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fourth episode of the Mason-Dixon Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Justin, and joining me this week, finally, is Adam and Jason.
Oh, you know you missed us.
This week, join us as we talk about the Steelers, the Pirates, Little League World Series, NASCAR racing at Jennerstown, and a little bit of hockey.
Is it October yet?
Adam, our resident soccer expert, since you're back this week. Last week we talked about Hope Solo being suspended for 6 months, and per the Washington Post, kicked off the team.
I think that's going to end up being superficial. They don't actually play a meaningful game until 2019. So I'm pretty sure they got some time to either figure out A, if they're going to bring her back, which I'm pretty sure they're going to, or B, if they're going to move on, which they should probably start thinking about, because I'm pretty sure she's going to, at some point, going to have to hang it up. So, I mean, this is kind of good and bad for them at the same time.
Also, we discussed last week, the NFL Pro Pick'em is up and running to start in a couple weeks. You can get the information from our Facebook page or on Twitter at MaceDickSportsPod. No, sign-up's free. There's no prizes.
And I'm going to beat everybody.
Yeah,
Alright, so talking about this football, move on to the Steelers. Third preseason game was Friday against the New Orleans Saints. The Stars played the first two drives. On the first drive, Ben threw a 5-yard touchdown pass to Jesse James from Penn State. And on the second drive, Ben and Antonio Brown hooked up for a 55-yard touchdown. Unfortunately, not all good news. Defensive end Cam Hayward, safety Shamarka Thomas, safety Jacob Hagan, and offensive tackle Marcus Gilbert all left the game with injuries. Landry Jones looked much better this week against the Saints. Threw for a touchdown at the end of the half. And no interceptions, so that's a plus. The final score of the game was 27-14 Steelers. And they finish out the preseason this week. Finish up on Thursday against the Panthers on Thursday. Thoughts?
Yeah, I did get to see the beginning of the game. The first team offense looked really good. I thought Ben and AB and even Jesse James looked real well. I also liked Eli Rogers. He's a new wide receiver for us. He has looked really good in the offseason so far, and I'm looking for a lot of big things for him to fill in, since we're a little short on wide receivers right now. The big thing from this game for me is, one, that the offense looked good. The second thing is that injury to Cam Hayward on the defense. He is a big part of that defensive line. If that ankle injury is severe, that could spell bad things for them. Also Shamarka Thomas being a safety, that could be an issue as well, because they're pretty short on guys in the secondary, and there's not a whole lot of experience back there either. So
short was definitely the key word of that too. Short.
I don't know if you guys saw the Dallas preseason game. Their starting quarterback got injured third play into the preseason. Got tackled and broke a vertebra in his back.
Yeah, I heard that he's possibly out for 10 weeks, so that's pretty much what Tony Romo does.
Luckily, it looks like they're set. Their backup quarterback, Prescott, has looked pretty good all preseason from what I've been able to see.
Yeah, I have a friend I work with. He is a Dallas Cowboys fan, and he said that their backup has looked pretty good so far this offseason. And they also have a really good running back. I believe his last name's Elliott. But before their preseason game, he was pictured entering a weed store in Seattle. So we'll see if anything comes of that. All right. Moving on to the Pirates. They had an up and down week. They began, well, we'll actually go back to last week a little bit. They got swept by Miami, which is a team that they're fighting for a wild card spot with. So that was a really bad series to lose, and a team that they definitely should have beat. After that series, they went on to play Houston at home. They actually lost that series 2-1. Again, did not look good. Didn't have very much offense. Nothing really looked good. Pitching didn't look good or anything. But then we move on to the current series that they just finished up today. They played 4 games in Milwaukee, and they ended up winning all 4 games. So that actually puts them at half a game behind St. Louis for a wild card spot. Miami is currently 1.5 games back, and the Mets are 2.5 games back from a wild card spot. So, up and down week and a half or so for the Pirates, but if they can continue, this win streak, that'd be nice. And it's somehow they've managed to stay in the race, and I think they still have a pretty decent shot. I also do want to give a shout out to Jordy Mercer. He had his first career Grand Slam the other day. It was also on his birthday as well. So
That's a heck of a time to hit your first Grand Slam, too.
Right.
Also, you mentioned last week about Pirates signing, set up possible trade with McCutchen. You want to enlighten us on that a little bit more?
Sure. The Pirates extended a contract for David Freese, which he is able to play third base or first base. So for next year, they would have Gong, possibly Jung Ho Gong, if nothing comes about with his sexual harassment suit. Gong would play at third. Then you have at first base, you have Josh Bell, you have Freese, or you have Jaso. So with that platoon of guys, you could potentially play either Jaso or Freese at first and move Josh Bell, who was one of their up and coming stars, to the outfield. That sets up the trade for McCutchen. McCutchen has trailed off a lot this year. He's pretty. He's one of the faces of baseball. He's the face of baseball in Pittsburgh right now, but a lot of people are down on him because of the season he's having. He's picked it up lately, which could also help his trade value. They could get more for a return from him. So that's just a scenario that could potentially happen because you already right now have Marte signed and you have Polanco signed for the outfield. So add Josh Bell out there, that's a pretty potent outfield, even with or without McCutchen.
You could also bring Sean Rodriguez into the outfield and actually give him a starting spot because he seems to have played every position but pitcher and catcher.
I don't think they'd ever really give him a starting spot, especially now that Bell is up, because Bell has provided so much offense for them so far. Like, he's only played in it's like 10 games or something like that, and his batting average is slightly under 500.
Nice.
And hell, one of his first hits was a grand slam.
I remember going watching him play in some of the minor league games, and the dude could hit. I mean, the dude could smack a ball.
Right.
I don't know why it took him this long to bring him up.
So, Adam, if they traded McCutchen, what teams do you see him going to?
That I'm not really sure. I'd have to look and see what everybody's losing at the end of the year. What guys are free agents and stuff like that. So at this point, I can't really say anything on that.
I know a team he'll go to. He'll go to Boston. Seems to be Pirates' favorite trade team for outfielders.
Or Arizona.
Yeah.
So, let's continue with baseball, and we'll go to the Little League World Series. Today was the championship game. The team from New York defeated South Korea in the championship 2-1. The team from New York actually went undefeated this whole summer at 24 games, and they also won all five of their games at the Little League World Series. Edzo, I know Little League World Series is one of your favorite things. What do you think?
I didn't get to see much of it this year. The bit of New York I got to see, their pitching was dominant, and those kids could hit. So, and I got to see one South Korea game, and again, pitching was dominant out of them. Their hitting wasn't quite up to par with New York, but their defense was spectacular, just like any of them Asian Pacific teams are.
There was a kid on the South Korea team. He is 5'11", 185 pounds.
And how old?
12.
Yeah, 12.
And when he pitched, it scared the crap out of any kid who stepped in the batter's box. Because he's throwing the equivalent of like a 105-mile-an-hour pitch in the major leagues.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to step in front of that.
Jason, when is the AAA play down in Johnstown?
That's been over, bud. It's usually the first week of August. I didn't get down for any of it. I know, sad. One of the biggest up-and-coming baseball tournaments around, and I didn't even go watch it.
One of the few good things come out of Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
Don't forget about Hockeyville, but that's, like I said, is it October yet?
Not yet, and also they've already lost the title, Hockeyville, USA, so...
Alright, now let's talk about some NASCAR at Michigan and Road America. This is a oddity in NASCAR. Everybody on all three major series has got their first career wins. We'll start with the Camping World Truck Series, with Brett Moffitt getting his first win, followed by Timothy Peters and Daniel Henrik. Their points right now are running as William Byron's in first, Daniel Hemrick is in second, and Timothy Peters is in third. The Xfinity Series was at Road America. Michael McDowell got his first win, followed by Brendan Gaughan and Brendan Poole. Their points right now are stacking up. Elliott Sadler's in first, Daniel Suarez is in second, and Justin Allgaier's in third. Now on to our fun night at the track on Saturday at Jennerstown. We had the Super Cup Stock Car Series show up again for their season finale. First win of the night in their first Twin 50s was by Bill Aston, who actually runs a street stock at Jennerstown weekly. And then the second race was won by Cody Rohrbaugh, and he almost lapped the entire field. He was coming up on 6th place on lap 50 very quickly.
Yeah, that second race, that win by Cody Rohrbaugh was, talk about dominant.
I don't know what it is about him at Jennerstown, man. At Jennerstown, that second race, every time, he is just pure dominant.
Why do they run twin 50s at the Jennerstown?
That's how they set it up there. That's how they run their cars. They have a very strange tire rule. They get, I think, 6 sets of tires at the beginning of the season, and that's it. You don't get any more tires.
They don't run at very many tracks. Like, they're not like a weekly series. They're almost like, it's, I don't even know if it's every other week, but once they go to a track, that's why they do 2, because they don't run all the time.
And like I said, they actually crowned their points championship Saturday night at Jennerstown, and it was Harvey Harrison. That's a heck of a name for you. He actually ended up finishing, I believe, 3rd in the first race and 4th in the second race, so a very consistent driver. And then now let's go to our guys. We'll start with the Go ahead.
What's the difference between our late models and the super stocks?
Their Super Cup cars are actually old ARCA cars. They're actually the old ARCA cars that used to be the old Busch Series cars. So they're just heavy stock cars.
And they have a bigger motor than our late models, right?
No, same motor.
Oh, same motor, but they're heavier.
Yeah, they're pushing the same horsepower, and they're just a lot heavier, a lot more of a beast to steer. And, well, speaking of our late models, let's talk about them. Matt Sever got a win this weekend, followed by Brian Shipp, who I thought put on his best run of the year, getting second to that. And then third was our guy Barry Audi. Modifieds then were up. Gary Scott got his first win at Jennerstown, followed by the points leader Zane Farrell, and third came to the old guy Tom Golick.
I'm seeing a name missing there, Jason. What happened to Chris Brink this week?
Chris Brink actually got caught up in a wreck right in the first start of the race. And, I mean, I'm glad to see somebody besides Chris win, but I hate to see it that way. I mean, Chris is a gentleman, and I hate to see somebody's car get wrecked up that bad. Street stocks. Last year's point champion, Anthony Aiello, I think that was his first win this year. Followed by Andrew Kostelnik and Adam Kostelnik. A little note on that. All three of them are related. Andrew and Adam are brothers, and Anthony is their nephew. And I still do like Anthony's Victory Lane speech where he messed up calling his uncle Butthead. Then for the Fast Fours, our boy Casey Flegel got his 5th win of the year, followed by Cindy Rhodes and Paul Koffler III. In the Charger division, Tanner Friedline got another win. Great to see that. Scott Mitchell came in second, and Jason Pritz came in third. The guy who always dominates in that, Stephen Sheltman, got caught up in a wreck. Alright, well, we'll go up to the Sprint Cup at Michigan or just today, actually. Kyle Larson, first win. He dedicated it to Brian Clausen. I loved everything that happened in Victory Lane. He had to sit down, basically, because the emotions were just getting to him. Great to see him finally get one after 99 races. He's been so close so many times, just something always happened to him. Even Chip Ganassi was a little bit teared up, too. That was kind of neat to see.
On a side note, that was 99 races for Chip Ganassi Racing, not for Kyle Larson.
You're probably right with that one. I just remember hearing 99 races, so I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I saw him put the stat up. It was 99 races for Chip Ganassi Racing. They put up a couple other ones, like it was 70. It's been 77 for, I think, Richard Petty Racing, and there are a couple others on that list too.
I remember seeing 76 for Jack Roush, for Roush Racing. So the last race they won had to have been won by, I think, Carl Edwards.
RCR has to be up there somewhere.
Yeah, RCR was on there too.
RCR is at 96.
So they haven't had a really good driver since Kevin Harvick left.
Speaking of young guys, how about 3 of the top 5 were all young guns? Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott in second, and in 4th place was Ryan Blaney.
That's awesome. It's good to see because, I mean, that's who you're going to be watching in the years to come, so it's nice to see them doing well now, too.
And Ryan Blaney just being on that one-car team, and he's still battling top 5s. He's in the chase right now by points. Hasn't won yet, but he's in by points, so he's still got a shot. Chris Buescher, who won at Poconos, got his first career win, running for another one of them small one-car teams. Now, yes, he won by rain out and everything, but he still won. He's right now fighting for his life to stay above 30th to make the chase.
How did the kid driving the 88 car this week look?
Oh, he was somewhere around 25th, I believe, a lap down. But he's out there getting wheel time on a whole new low downforce package, so it's a big, steep learning curve.
Did you guys hear anything about Junior's ETA coming back into his car?
Not that I heard, but it's basically on him and his doctor when he's coming back.
They're supposed to be at Darlington this week, correct?
Darlington is this week.
Gordon's going to run his car this weekend at Darlington, and I think they're going to reevaluate after Darlington and see where he's at.
Well, if you're going to have anybody replace you at Darlington, you want Jeff Gordon. As much as I hate to say that, I was never a Gordon fan, never will be, but the guy knows how to drive at Darlington.
Adam, your thoughts on this?
I mean, do we want to start this argument? Because we started it. We started it the other day and it didn't go well. I mean, I'm a Junior fan first and foremost, but I've come to respect Gordon. He's very good at what he does or what he did, and I think he's better than some of the other guys that are still out there right now.
I understand that as an Earnhardt fan growing up, it was in the DNA to hate on Gordon, so I definitely understand that.
No, I mean I was right there with you. My whole family is Earnhardt's, so that's why I'm on with Junior. But you got to give the man credit. He was a good race car driver, and he's really not dirty, and he just goes out and races. So
I think that was part of the problem. He was always too clean of a race car driver.
Yeah, he was too clean. He always found a way to be up there. I give him a lot of credit. He was always patient when he had to be, and he knew when to turn it on.
How about, by the way, did you guys see that Brad Keselowski's car failed inspection after the race?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I did see that. So
then that actually puts Ryan Blaney in third place.
Yeah.
So the top three were all young guys. Looking at a changing of the guard.
Now they're going to do the same thing they did a couple months ago with the car that failed inspection but won, and take it back to the research facility and look in and see if there was a reason why it failed.
I'm sure they'll test it more. They didn't really give a whole lot of. I just saw the tweet about it that he failed, so I didn't get to read anything else. But I'm sure they're going to do more testing on it and see what exactly failed and then why, and so we'll see what happens in the next couple of days.
Did they say anything about Larson's car failing? Because that thing was beat up after that celebration.
No, they didn't say anything.
I mean,
it was one hell of a celebration. It was pretty damn good.
I mean, no steering wheel at all, just doing a burnout. That I got respect for that.
Yeah,
that kid's got some huevos. All right, well, talking about Keselowski, let's talk about some points here. Harvick right now is leading the championship points with Keselowski in second and Edwards in third. Now, do they dock you points or anything if you get DQ like that in NASCAR?
I am not sure, but I would think so. Something has to happen to him. I don't know if maybe it's just kind of like Jennerstown where you basically weren't there that week.
That could be. I mean, he could have failed for something as low as his bump stop moved on him and his car sat lower.
Yeah, but they're real strict about that stuff, so...
Yeah, I think that's why you said about the further testing to make sure it just wasn't something failed,
right.
Not something went bad. Alright, so let's continue talking about points here. Let's go back to Jennerstown. Late models. Barry Audi still leads the points over Matt Sever, and Gary Wiltrout is right there chugging along in third. Gary wouldn't have gotten to that real nasty wreck a couple weeks ago. I think this might be a different story. What do you think, Adam? I mean, that was a hard hit he took, too.
Yeah, I mean, even after taking out a hard hit, he's still been finishing very well. He won last week.
Yep.
So, yeah, this really is a three-way race. It's going to be a tight race. There's only 2 weeks left, so it could go to any of the three.
It's going to take a big mess up by Barry to lose that points championship. I mean, 20 points is hard to get when you only got about 15 cars, and at 2 points per spot difference, it's kind of hard to make up points quick. But
it's real. Yeah, you got that right. It's hard to gain them quick, but it's real easy to lose them quick.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you wreck in the heat race and you can't make the feature. Yeah, you could lose 50 points to the guy behind you real quick.
Well, we know if Barry wrecks in the heat, he's going to run 5 minutes to his house and get his backup car, so he'll be in the feature no matter what.
Yeah, well, no, you know what's going to happen. We'll all get together and we'll get that regular car fixed before the feature.
Well, remember last year we had to give up our trailer to go so that they could go pick up his backup car.
Yeah, and then the backup car just sat there.
They still had it if they needed it.
Yeah, it was there. He actually went out and won that night too, in a car that was held together basically by duct tape.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the E-mods, or modifieds, whatever you want to call them. Zane Farrell still has the lead over Chris Brink and Tom Golick. Farrell has that lead strictly because he was always consistent. With Brink, it was either win or wreck.
I am happy to see Zane there. I don't know him on a personal level, but he seems like a good kid. And I'm still don't understand how he's in the point lead, but I guess it's like you said, it's because Brink either wins or wrecks. But winning 8 weeks in a row, you would think Brink would be a little bit closer than he is. Being 39 points away or whatever. So, I think Zane's pretty much got it locked up as long as he can, keep the car clean the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, Zane, if you look at most of those weeks, Zane was second, third, right there. So he wasn't really losing that many points to Chris.
I think, didn't he pick up his first victory last week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, last week Chris Brink was in victory lane again.
And he wrecked this week.
Yep. He also wrecked. He got caught up in a guy who was first time at Jennerstown. It happens. Street Stocks. Andrew Kostelnik finally took the points lead over Sean Beam by 1 point, thanks to coming in second last week to his nephew. And then third place is Aaron Van Pelt. Aaron, great kid, rookie. He's doesn't have a chance. He's 131 points back. But, he's a rookie and he's up in third in one of the more premier classes. I give him credit.
Yeah, I agree. I give him credit too. He's got a good car. He's just, a couple times got caught up in some things. And, as far as Sean and Andrew go, it's going to be a tight race the last 2 weeks. Sean was dominant the early part of the year, and now Andrew's been pretty dominant the latter half. So we'll see what happens the last 2 weeks.
Well, Sean can never get them mice out of his car. Run on horsepower instead of mouse power. He's up there. Let's go on to the four cylinders. Our boy Casey Flegel has 641 points over second place Paul Koffler with 560. Cindy Rhodes is now in third. She got wrecked out last week and ended up losing her second place points. And this week, wow, Casey just dominated. So we got 2 weeks to go, and then it's going to be a celebration.
Yeah, Casey started eighth. By the end of lap 1, he was in second place. By the end of lap 2, he was in first, and he never looked back. How far of a lead do you think he had by the end of the race?
He had a full straightaway lead, and I swear his laps were just so consistent that's what set that lead off.
The thing that shocked me, being that we're on his crew, is that, in the hot laps, practice, he didn't look very good. His times weren't very good. Just something didn't look right about the car. We changed a couple things, and then he goes out, and bam, he's like lightning.
Well, it's Casey. He knows when to turn it on. Well, actually, he doesn't know when to turn it off. But
right.
What are you gonna say? You gotta love the guy. He is a wheel man, and if he can stick to it, he can go places. That's
for sure. He definitely knows how to drive. He definitely takes some chances, but being able to drive helps him out. Helps him to take those chances and be successful at them. So,
well, 5 wide on a half-mile racetrack, you don't usually see that, even in 4-cylinder street car.
He's also good at tuning that car too. He knows, we ask him how it felt, and he knows exactly what he wants in it. So,
well, sometimes he likes to take a little too many chances and try new things, but once we find out that don't work, he gets it off of there.
Even when you're in a lead, you still got to keep tuning because guys are coming for you. They're up in their game. You got to keep trying to up yours. So,
yep. Let's talk about the last division, the Charger division. Steven Sheltman still has his lead. It got cut down a little bit, but it's still a 55-point lead over Scott Mitchell. with Tanner in third place. It seems even when Sheltman has a bad week, he's still top 4, top 5.
Yeah, that was
Can't think
just
much to
a
say.
pretty good race. I think Sheltman again has a pretty big lead, and it's going to be hard to lose. With only 2 weeks left. It's nice to see Tanner up in third. We talked about him a couple weeks ago. How much we both, or all three of us, said that we really liked him and how well he's done. It's just a good class, good racing with those guys.
Yeah, those guys are definitely known not to be afraid to bump around. Fans love to see that. I could do without it because I know what happens afterwards, but you got to put the show on for the fans because without the fans, you ain't got racing anymore. And it was really nice to see wall-to-wall fans.
Yeah, it was nice to see wall-to-wall fans up there this week. They said there were around 7,000 fans there, which I really find that hard to believe, but they were packed. It's just nice to see for that little track that wasn't open a few years ago to see that many people in the stands. I do also want to mention, speaking of Steven Sheltman, last week he had a little bit of an incident in the pits. Went to start his car after pulling it out of the tech garage, and it was accidentally left in gear. Hit the starter, and the car drove into the little wall between the two garage doors and busted that up. And he also hit one of the other cars in tech. So I also think Sheltman actually hurt his hand on that too. He cut up his hand, but I believe he was all right. It was just superficial. So.
It's nice to see he's all right, but
yeah, it was a pretty crazy little event there. But
let's not talk about incidents last week, okay? No incidents from last week. Move on.
Actually, speaking of incidents last week, our host Jason was in the enduro race, and he went out in flames.
Literally.
He was doing pretty well. This was his second time in the enduro. He was going way faster than he did last time, handling a lot better. And then we started having some issues with the car. It started smoking, and so finally he brought it in the pits. And Casey and I just told him, just go, just keep running it. And so he floors it out of the pits and goes around a couple of times, and it's barely putting along, but he just kept in it. And then this one time he comes around, goes past us on the front stretch, goes into turn 1, and all of a sudden, poof, flames shoot out from underneath the car. And all of us are like, oh no, he's on fire. So luckily, he didn't get hurt. The fire guys stopped him and got him out, and everything was all right. And actually the car still runs and drives. So
yeah, but it's only got first gear.
Oh, I'm glad you're okay and all that, but I would have paid to see you reenact the scene from Talladega Nights when you caught fire.
See, I gotta watch this movie now. I did not like the beginning of Ricky Bobby, the Talladega Nights movie, so I just turned it off and quit watching it. Now I gotta watch it and see what everybody was telling me to do. Because I actually scared the firefighters because of how calmly I got out of the car because it didn't bother me. It was on fire.
Shame on you for never watched that movie.
I'm guessing they don't know you're a volunteer at one of the local departments.
Oh, they know. Oh, come on, dude. It was Seth.
Oh, it's good to see Seth still doing that then. I know he's a big fan of racing and a big fan of cars in general, so.
Yeah, we know all the firefighters, so.
Yeah, but yeah, I got to thank those guys for coming up, putting the car out, and keeping my safety in mind, even though I argued the fact that I just wanted to keep going.
No, not you argue with somebody.
Hey, I'm not known for that, am I?
No, not at all. Anyways, moving on to injuries in hockey. For Team Canada, Jamie Benn and Duncan Keith are out of the lineup due to the injuries. Logan Couture and Jay Bowmister are added to Canada's roster. For Team Sweden, Nicholas Conwell and Alexander Steen are out. Hampus Lindholm and Rickard Ricard in for Team Sweden. Team USA, you got Ryan Callahan that's out with Cal Palomari in. What's your guys' thoughts on this?
Well, other than the pronunciations were a little off, yeah, it was. I would have had Lindholm in there to begin with. Raquel, he's a bit flighty for me, and I just think Bouwmeester's getting old. I would have went with somebody different. I probably would have put Letang in there instead. Novak?
Doesn't really matter to me.
Does lead into some of the Penguins snubs. Team USA, Phil Kessel should have been on there before he got injured. Also, Chris Letang should definitely be on the team for Team Canada. One of the top defensemen in the NHL getting snubbed like that is kind of ridiculous. Your guys' thoughts?
Letang would have turned it down anyways. You know, I'm a big fan of Letang and follow him on social media and everything, and he's a big family guy in the off season, so I think he would have ended up spending time with his son, and I don't think he would have tried to play. Plus, I'm all for giving guys time to recoup, especially with the Pens, since they, you know, won a cup. You know, they played longest out of anybody other than the Sharks, obviously, and so give them as much time off as they can get.
That, and with it being an 82 a tight schedule like that, it wears your body out.
Well, obviously, and with Letang, you know, he's obviously had some health issues, so that's even more of a reason to give him a break.
Yeah. Although he's recovered amazingly from a stroke. I can't believe he's even walking, let alone playing.
Also brings up to, on the goaltender side, I'm not a huge fan of Canada's selections for goalie. I am a fan of Price being the starter. That's a gimme. Holtby and Crawford, though, I think should not be on the team. I think backup to Price should be Elliott, with the third string being Marc-Andre Fleury or Roberto Luongo.
Oh, another little side note. What do you think of Kessel taking the Stanley Cup to Toronto?
We knew he was going to do that. He has a lot of charities and stuff up there. I do think it's a good FU to the fan base as well, fan base and media. I just wish he would have taken the Conn Smythe up there as well. I think he deserved to win it over Crosby.
Well, you're going to sit there and badmouth the guy who, come to find out, is actually a pretty good guy. And, I mean, that's a great rip on him right there. I'm still surprised Justin isn't partial to Murray.
No, we won't go there. Don't bring up Murray in front of Wall.
Well, while we're on that topic, who's going to be the starter this year, Justin?
That's a whole another podcast in itself.
Yeah, don't get started on that. It's something that'll probably last another hour or two, just talking about just the goalie situation.
I could really stir the pot and say, do you think he's seeing action so he's going to get more time during the season? Murray. I can already tell Justin's blood's starting to boil.
That's why you bring up goalies to Justin. It's always fun.
Fleury might still be crying because he didn't get to play in the playoffs behind Matt Murray.
Like I said, you go with the hot hand at that point. I wish people could see your face right now, Justin. You're getting red. All right. Has anybody got any other thoughts for tonight? We'll let Walter's blood stop boiling here.
You can follow me at Boost4608 at Twitter or Instagram or Xbox if you guys are gamers. Boost4608 for all of them.
You can also follow me on Twitter at Slovak044. That's also my Snapchat name. And you can play some Xbox with me at EagleHawk44.
You can follow me at TheEdzo608 on Twitter. My Snapchat is JEdzo608. And if you want to play some Xbox with me, I'm Edzo608. Guys, it was a fun week. This is the Mason Distance Sports Podcast. Everybody have fun.